So I had no idea. So one of the reasons I was excited to have this conversation and share with all of you, and I do not have children myself, so full disclosure. However, I would bet that even if you have children, and even if they're enrolled in Seminole County schools, I would venture to say that a lot of you have no idea all of the different programs that are available, many that you were instrumental in implementing and making happen, right, for this Seminole County. I mean, it's really impressive. We'll touch on a few. We could go for hours, literally, and talk about all the different programs. I mean, there's just so many things, but what are some things, I know it's a general broad question, but what are some things that kind of come to mind or that you think maybe they're not aware?
In that guide that you happen to have right there, we actually have a QR code that will
share
add to it later,
absolutely,
so you can get to it. And actually the open enrollment starts October 1st. But clearly you can see that we have it broken down into what's your E, and it's a choices program where you can go to whatever school you want, or it's a lottery based on, you know, if you can get into that program or not. And most of the time we're able to match the school of your choice of what you would like to do.
Okay.
So for example, if you want to, what's your E? That stands for employment, enlistment, or education.
Okay.
So if you want to go on to college and possibly go into our pre-IB veterinarian program or our law and justice program.
I loved that when I was in school.
Isn't that neat? Or engineering program to be an engineer, or if you want to become somebody like aviation mechanics. We have our own helicopter, our own plane at Seminole High School.
Crazy.
And the partnerships that we have and that we built within the community have been absolutely amazing, because they help us and we help them back. Lyman High School has HVAC plumbing program and welding.
And those jobs are so needed. I mean,
exactly.
And, you know, I always am hearing about the shortage of people, that they need more, you know, people, they're tradesmen and people that are going into
exactly. And so you used to hear the word vocational or programs, but now it's called career technical programs. So when you hear that, we have over 53 programs. And, you know, you can do interior design. You can go into the Academy of Health Careers. We have our own nursing program that we just modernized the facility at Seminole High School. And it looks like a real hospital. And our partners did an amazing job. And I would love to share that later on with you, because there's so many things that we do in our county.
And these are programs that are open. Sorry, not to bury the lead here, but that's, I mean, 100%. I had no idea. And
our magnet programs, you get transportation to those. So if you lived on one side of town and you wanted to happen to go to, you know, the engineering program at Lyman, or you wanted to do the AI program at Lake Howell, or you wanted to go to Seminole High School to, you know, for a health academy, we would be able to pick you, the bus system would take you to that location. Now the programs of emphasis, like the Academy of Finance, where we have banks on campuses, and our students, where all three of my students, my own children, were able to run the credit union. Addition Financial is one of our business partners, and they are actual bank tellers. And one gets to be picked as a loan officer. And actually they were trained just around the corner from here, which is really neat. And that's part of the program that they do. And we have multiple schools that are doing that now. So financial literacy is extremely important, but they are actually the ones that are the people on the front line working the banks. And then therefore two of my kids went into finance in college. So, but we have so many diverse programs that would basically be for anybody, even our public service academy, with dispatch, the 911 dispatching units and things like that, that you wouldn't think. But what we did is surveyed the children to see what they wanted to do. Because everybody has a different path. And we want to make sure that college isn't the end all for anybody anymore. And instead of saying to someone, where are you going to college? We say, what do you want to do?
That's right. Like you said, there's different paths to get there, right?
Exactly. And it's true. These fields that you were talking about, we desperately need people on them. And so it's a critical field that if we have aviation mechanics or automotive mechanics, that not just a regular automotive class like we did when we were back in high school, but a lot more in depth, that they have these opportunities, HVAC, plumbing, welding, that they can go into those fields, be industry certified, and then right away,
that's awesome.
They go straight into the field. They even get their internships early on, where at our career technical field interview process, and they get hired or even possibly intern during the summer.
That's
And then they go
fantastic.
straight in there right after they graduate high
Yeah,
school.
that's fantastic.
So it keeps the students engaged.
Yeah.
And they love learning.
Yep.
And they still get their core classes, but they get something added to that rather
Yeah.
than have to be pulled out like some other counties possibly have just a
Mhm.
unit separate from inside the school system.
Yeah, that's great. And I know in real estate, you're trying to give as much value as you possibly can to your clients. If someone's considering moving into Seminole County, like Abby said, we'll make sure we give you the QR code, but I'm thinking this information for someone who has a family or is going to have a family, this would be something that would be really important to them to make the decision to want to be in a county where they have someone, with all these programs and have someone like Abby as a leader representing them and really
Yes.
looking out for the families and the kids. So
Thank
yeah.
you. And that's why it's critical to keep me in this position,
Yes.
somebody that has those connections.
Yeah.
And my opponent's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think she has a lot to learn still. She's only been to a handful board
Yeah.
meetings, but
Yeah.
never really has been engaged into our school systems. And I think it's extremely important. Get your feet wet, hit the ground running
Yeah.
first, learn everything
Yes.
about our schools beforehand. And I've done that for, gosh, actually since middle school.
Yeah.
I actually served once I was in high school in South Florida. I was a student representative on the school
Okay,
board.
there you go.
So I think it's extremely critical to be involved and engaged as much as possible beforehand. But we were talking about the little ones.
Mhm.
And on that, we're one of the few counties that has made it a priority to
Mhm.
keep the Great Start program going.
Mhm.
And in this school resource guide, which is going to become somebody's favorite
Yep,
book.
marketing tool or tool.
Yes,
yeah,
and you can
uh-huh,
have copies. Just let me know if you need them.
Yeah,
And you can
That's
share my
great.
number with
Okay.
everybody. My phone number is available for everyone online as well. But we have our Great Start and VPK program, but the Great Start program is not just for underserved areas, it's for anybody. It's almost like a mommy and me.
I think that's a huge takeaway, I'm telling you.
Yes.
For me, maybe I'm wrong, but I think
You
that
are-
a lot of people probably
yes.
don't know that.
Well, and a lot of people have no idea
Yeah.
that we offer that. They thought, and originally it was, a lot of people thought it was just for underserved areas. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's for
Yeah,
everybody. And you can live anywhere throughout the county and possibly go to the story time at the different local
Yeah,
libraries
okay.
or Barnes and
Wow.
Noble
Wow.
or wherever.
Yeah.
Or you can have your child in one of the Great Start programs. So
Okay.
this is from birth until the age of 3.
Wow,
And there is no other county in Central Florida that
yeah,
has this.
something like that.
And we've
That's
made it a
awesome.
priority.
That's
I've made
awesome.
it a priority to make sure that we've kept this in place
Yeah.
because early literacy is so critical.
Yeah.
And when parents see other students,
Mhm.
or parents are watching other children interacting
Yeah.
with their parents or their moms and dads or guardians, the same thing. They're engaged, they're learning from each
Yeah,
other, and
yeah.
they're learning those social skills
Social
that are
skills.
so
We need more
critical.
now than ever, right? Yeah,
Right,
for
and
sure.
I always tell everybody, you have to learn something or see something and say something 144 times before it can stick in your brain and store in your long-term
Wow.
memory bank.
Yeah.
And that's basically like anything. I always say, you can learn any trick or trade, but if you don't have good people skills, you're not gonna make it
That's
in
right.
anything.
And to that point, I wanted to add or put a little extra point on what you said about being in the position for the 8 years that you have been. I can only imagine how many relationships that you need to develop and build, how many things there are to know. I've sat on many boards in a much smaller capacity, certainly, and it takes a long time just to understand the who's who and how things get moved through. And you can have all the great ideas in the world, but to get them actually, people to buy into them, and you have to be a great communicator. So I think it makes a lot of sense to keep you in that position for sure. And on that note, when you're voting, there again, I always will be the first one to fall on the sword. I did not know how this worked when it came to voting. When you go in to actually place your vote, she's in one particular district, right? You're going to show up on the ballot
Yes.
as District 3, okay? But in Seminole County specifically, anybody in the county, is that right?
Correct.
Can vote and encouraged to vote for you in that district, but
Since
even if
it's a
you're not.
nonpartisan race, I'm on
Okay.
every ballot throughout the
Okay, that's
county.
important.
And the reason why I have a runoff, and this is confusing because I've had a lot of people say, congratulations, I'm so excited you won. Well, I didn't quite get my 50% plus 1. And when you
Okay.
have 2 people running against you in a 3-person race, you have to get the 50% plus 1. And if you
Okay.
don't, then you have to have the runoff.
Mm.
So in the primary election, which happened to be August 20th, we only had 16.9% of people that voted.
Wow.
That's the lowest turnout we've
That's
ever had.
so surprising to
And
me.
throughout the whole state of Florida, they had extremely low turnout
Wow.
and voting.
Yeah.
So I will be on the November 5th ballot, which is a general election.
Yeah.
And I will be on everybody's ballot, no matter if they're registered nonpartisan independent,
Okay.
if they are a registered Republican, Democrat,
Yeah.
or an independent.
And you represent, I know,
Everybody.
personally, everybody. We
Correct.
were talking before we went live here, and like you said, you not ask, yeah, you're helping serve all these families, all these children, this, yeah.
And I try to reach out to as many schools as I can
Yeah.
get to. But we have a lot of schools. And so each district has a district school board member that visits those schools. And then when we're invited to all programs for everybody, we try to go and be a part of those schools as much as possible.
That's good.
But my district, District 3, it's very misleading. And it's the same thing for county commissioners.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yes, in Seminole County, it's different than in Orange County. So, and in other neighboring counties, so you're district wide and you run throughout the whole district. So it's critical that everybody votes and keep somebody that understands what's going on in education, because it's all about building those connections, like you were stating. You know, all the different committees and boards that I've served on for so many years, and all the charitable work that I've given to help others and learn about and engaged with those different individual charities is critical.
And partnerships with all these organizations that you mentioned are doing these
100%.
things, that's got
And
that's
heading
big.
to Tallahassee a lot.
Big, yeah.
This job requires a
lot.
full-time job
No
commitment to
kidding,
me. This
yeah.
is, you
It's
know,
like 3 jobs probably.
well,
Yeah.
it is. And I take the phone and I answer it 24/7. I give my number to everybody.
That's fantastic.
I've taught thousands of kids, and I think it's important that we make sure that we keep somebody that's connected,
Yes.
that understands the process, that can reach out to Tallahassee
Yeah.
and can speak on behalf of us.